AOL's corporate office, and yet they were like, no, I wouldn't know what to do.
Interesting.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
it is fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Dave Hamilton's here with us, everybody. You didn't ask me my Apple story. I just told you a teeny tiny part of my Apple story, but other people have heard the story before. And besides, that was yesterday, and yesterday's gone, as that song goes. Yeah. Interesting, though. I guess that kind of ties into what we're going to talk about today. Oh, really quickly, let me let people know. We're talking about near future tech that turns Dave on, but earlier this week we talked about Mac Geek Gab. I know I mentioned a couple of other shows that you have. Would you like to tell people about another today?
Sure. You mentioned Geek Gab, which is at geekgabpodcast.com. It's a show for working musicians that I do with Paul Kent, who is very much tied to our Apple community. Ran Macworld Expo for many, many years.
Yes.
And then I also do the small business show at businessshow.co with Shannon Jean, who is also tied back to the Mac community. He started Mac Rescue and sold that and started Tech Restore and then sold that a couple of years ago. But yeah, so there you go. Small Business Show and Gig Gab are the other two that I do. We publish lots of other podcasts, but in terms of the ones that I host, it's those three.
So again, with the recurring feature thing, and not something that I've done for a while because mostly we've been having people back. And also I got a lot of pushback on this. It's kind of interesting. I would say to people, what is near future tech that turns you on? And these people who spend all of their time thinking about technology and talking about technology, sometimes podcasting about it, sometimes writing about it, I would say, what is the near future thing that turns you on? And some of them would say, I don't want to do that. Because they didn't feel like they could speak authoritatively about what's coming in the future. And others said, well, Allison Sheridan very famously said, I'm not a futurist. And I'm not looking for you to say, what part is hydroponics going to play in the 2021s or, 2150s or whatever, Dave? Sure. I'm asking, is there something, when you look around at the landscape today, when you look around at the things people talk about, AR, VR, Apple Car, all the way down to, well, we talked earlier this week about Apple Silicon on, of course, the Apple Silicon Bitcoin Naked People show. When you look at near future tech, what turns you on?
Well, really now I'm wondering if for Friday's show, we changed our shirts from Monday to Tuesday, now from Thursday to Friday, because we're the Naked People show, at least in part. Do we have to take our shirts off?
No.
I don't know.
No, sir.
No.
Not if
no.
I know.
Okay.
For audio,
right,
I've done it for audio. I just don't tell people.
Right. It's
for video,
never
though,
been told.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not
okay,
gonna do
good.
that.
Well, I'm glad we've gotten that straightened out. I'm not sure where the Naked People come in. But to answer your question.
Not where, but when, my friend. But stay tuned because probably.
You never know.
You never do.
Wi-Fi 6, I think, is the thing that excites me most about near-term future tech. And I realize it's current-term future tech, but nobody's really using it yet.
Okay.
And I think 2021 will be the year that it almost accidentally, but not really, reaches critical mass in the consumer's homes.
All right, well, hold on. Forgive me, because what do I have now?
Yeah, good question. See, this is what I mean about almost accidentally.
Okay.
The major players in the industry, the device manufacturers, the chip makers, and all of that are very bullish on Wi-Fi 6 for a lot of good reasons, and we can go into those. You bought your iPhone 11, let's say, and it could have been an 11 or an 11 Pro or 11 Pro Max or whatever we're supposed to call it. I can't remember the names anymore, Ken. It doesn't matter. They're going to change it anyway in a month.
It's true.
That phone, all those devices have a Wi-Fi chipset in it that supports Wi-Fi 6. Your Macs do not have Wi-Fi 6 in them yet. It's kind of weird that they didn't put that chipset in, but I think in the next iteration of Macs, especially portable Macs, but even desktop Macs would benefit from this. I think it's coming. I think it was just a supply chain logistics thing that led to existing current Macs not having it.
If I can pause you for 1 second, my routers are at least a year and a half to 2 years old. They are obviously not Wi-Fi 6, but
well, they could be. I mean, it's been around for a while, but you probably don't have Wi-Fi 6. You've got Wi-Fi 5 in your routers, or as it was called when you bought it, 802.11ac. That's Wi-Fi 5. The Wi-Fi consortium just decided to retroactively rename everything so that we can. Well,
it's a great idea because I have no idea. I mean, that's a great idea because I have no idea. 802.11n, 802.11c. or AC or whatever. I mean, none of that actually means anything to me. So when you say they've decided to go 6, 7, 8 now, that's awesome. Because if I buy any router that I have purchased myself has always been based on how much money do I have to spend? How much money is that thing over there? Can I change the password easily? These are pretty much the only things that I'm worried about. Usually what happens is my cable company, you know, if I move to a new town, they're like, and here's your router. It's like, oh, yep, great. Thanks. I'm sure that's going to be quality.
Yeah. It sometimes is, and it, you know, sometimes isn't. Yeah. But what Wi-Fi 6 is it still operates in that same 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz band that that we currently use. Now there's Wi-Fi 6 Plus or something that expands into the 6 gigahertz band as well. Basically, what 6E is the one that moves into the 6 gigahertz band. Essentially, the way radios work, the higher the frequency, the wider the bandwidth, and the shorter the range. So lower frequency, longer range. That's why your Internet of Things devices use the 2.4 gigahertz band usually, because they don't need a whole lot of, you know, to tell a light bulb to turn on. That's pretty low bandwidth, right? Mm-hmm. So you just want something that's going to reach the stupid light bulb when you put it way over there. And so, right. But, you know, for our devices, we want high bandwidth. One interesting thing that comes with high bandwidth, though, is you do get longer range, because what happens when you get further away from your source is, you know, the traffic speed, the effective speed goes down. So Wi-Fi 5 versus Wi-Fi 6. Wi-Fi 6 uses a different modulating algorithm, and it can transfer data at like 4 times the speed of Wi-Fi 5, which, even though it's operating in the same radio frequency, you can get more range out of Wi-Fi 6 because it goes faster than Wi-Fi 5. Does that make sense?
Well, it does, but I'm trying to figure out what's going to get people to care. I mean,
that's the thing is, I don't think people are going to care.
Right.
I think people are just going to wind up having it because the new devices that they're going to buy are going to have it baked into them. Your phone already does. Your next year's phone certainly, this year's phone certainly will. Yeah. Your Mac will. Your new router, when you buy a new router, it will.
Okay, there's the problem, though, because my next phone, well, I'm probably not getting an iPhone 12. I don't know. It depends on what they say. It depends on, you know, what the prices are. It depends on a lot of things. But I'm actually in an off year for me. But the iPhone 12 is going to support Wi-Fi 5 as well as Wi-Fi 6. And probably the iPhone 13 is going to as well. So I'm trying to figure out...
It's all backwards compatible.
Right.
Absolutely, yeah.
So then what's going to get you to buy a new router? Because as long as your router works, you don't really care, right? And then the thing is, if I had a problem where my router wasn't reaching my whole house, probably I bought an Eero, or probably I bought some sort of mesh something or other, or maybe I plugged in a different router that just sort of piggybacked something else that I had from something left over, or something along those lines. I mean, it feels to me like there almost has to be you can only do this on Wi-Fi 6 to get people to then go ahead and upgrade their infrastructure. But I mean, I can't imagine what that you can only do this would be, because, and that, you know, that's part of a problem of imagination, I suppose. Sure. I don't know what the next thing is until the next thing comes. And then if they say, but you can't do it unless you buy another $200 something, then I'll be like, oh, that'll be nice when I eventually have to buy a new $200 something.
And that's the thing, right? Is with so many people now working at home that weren't previously, there is a renewed interest in, okay, wait a minute, that router upgrade that I've been putting off for a while, you know, now I've got, not only do I have to work at home, but I've got my 2 kids, you know, streaming on Zoom all day too, in addition to Netflix at night. You know, that router purchase can be justified. And by and large, if you're looking at something new, Eero doesn't have them yet, but most of the other mesh vendors are selling Wi-Fi 6 products. And so you might say, oh, well, if I'm going to buy something new, I should get the latest tech so that it lasts longer for me. And then boom, you're in Wi-Fi 6. So I'm excited about it.
Do you think people see that as a function of their router, or do they think that it's, oh man, my internet's slow? I mean, do they view it as the service coming in is slow, or do they view it as my, you know, point of entry is kind of crap because I bought it 5 years ago and really should upgrade?
It depends on how much of a geek you are, but by and large, most people conflate the two and just say, Comcast sucks. It's like, okay, well, let's dig into this a little bit and find out what sucks, and
right.
Sometimes it's Comcast and sometimes it's what you have at your house. But that's what we do on Mac Geek Gab is we help people sort of, draw those lines and figure out what it is they need to work on. So there you go.